Hello, my Liebchens. So I've got a whole bunch of videos up. Whenever I do something new and different, I throw a video up. Somebody pointed out, you don't have a video that just shows us how to do a fob. And I'm like, fobs are not new. Fobs are not different. And they're like, yeah, but a lot of people are getting their first embroidery machine and fobs are brand new and different for them. So why do you not have a fob video? And I'm like, okay, well, the next time I do fobs, I'll do a video. So today we're doing a fob. This is my fob. This is my stitch sheet. I always print my stitch sheet before I go in, okay? The first thing you always want to do is hoop your stabilizer. This fob has 10,000 stitches. It doesn't have a lot of detail, but the center's kind of dense, and that means my marine vinyl is going to want to pull to the middle. I'm also using mirror glitter vinyl, which is a lot plasticier than just regular old marine vinyl. So I know it wants to deform, especially right there in the center where it's all dense. So I've hooped two pieces of medium tearaway. Okay. You'll also need 2 pieces of marine vinyl or mirror vinyl. A lot of people have also started using Ollie Fun for the back. I have not ordered my Ollie Fun yet, but when I do, I'll let you know about it. And what you're going to do is you are going to put your hoop with your 2 pieces of medium weight tearaway into the machine, and you're going to run color stop 1 with nothing here. Color stop 1. All right, it's going to give you your die line. This is your die line for the placement of your vinyl to make sure that as you stitch the rest of the fob, your vinyl covers the entire pattern. Now, I see a lot of you guys who go ahead and take your stabilizer and your hoop and you float your marine vinyl and then you run step 1. The only problem with that, guys, is A, you're playing vinyl chicken. What happens if you're just off on your placement and you wind up with part of the pattern outside your vinyl? The other problem is this is going to shrink and move a little bit, not a lot, as you sew the rest of the pattern. So this line is not going to necessarily match up perfectly with your finished stitch. So if you don't want to run a die line, then skip step 1. But don't put this die line on top of your vinyl, okay? So what do we do now? Well, there is all kinds of conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom. Some people say you just float it. Some people are like, oh no, you can't just float it. You have to spray it, baste it, spray it. Other people are like, well, if you're worried about it, go ahead and tape it. I'm kind of the, it's a tiny piece of vinyl. It's a 4x4 hoop. I'm just going to go with it. We will be back after I do steps 2, which is lettering, step 3, which is lettering, step 4, which is outline. We'll come back at step 5, which is where we're going to attach the back. Attach the back. Back in a minute. Okie dokie pokies, we have finished all of the design. It is now time for our final attachment stitch. On some of my, actually on almost all of my fobs, I do a placement stitch here and here. It's a single little circle and a single little circle, 2 single stitch circles to show you where to put your snap tabs or rivets. I almost always do it in true orange. That is your signal to stop sewing the pattern and attach your back. So we flip her over, woohoo, and we want to make sure that our back covers the entire design, and we want to securely fasten it. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know what comes next. Tape. Tape. I love my tape. Now, here's a little hint to save you some money. I used expensive, pretty mirror glitter on the front. This is notorious for sticking to your needle plate. It's a bear to use as a backing. So I'm using just plain black marine vinyl on the back because nobody's really going to notice. Some people are starting to use Ollie Fun. I have got an order in for some Ollie Fun, and I will see how that works out. Other people use felt, and that's fine too. Whatever you use for your backing, you want to make sure it does not fray. I'm going to throw that into the machine, do my final stitch, and I'll be back in a minute. So that was it, folks. We've attached the back. time to unhoop. Woohoo! And then we will be adding our snap tabs. Yay! Okay, so since this is tearaway, I go ahead, and I know not everybody does this, but to make it A, easier to cut, and B, when it's done, so this white doesn't show, I go ahead and I pull my tearaway out from between my 2 layers of vinyl as much as I possibly can, so that the cut is a little cleaner at the end. Okay. So then my favorite scissors in the entire world, duck bills. You can use whatever you want. Just remember, just remember the trick on all of this is that you want to turn your work and not your scissors. So I'm going to try and keep 1/8 of an inch away from my stitch line. And since I am a righty predominantly, I end up going counterclockwise on all my cutting. I don't know why that is. I'd like to hear from a southpaw. Do you, when you're cutting, wind up doing clockwise? I would think. Unless you're in Australia. And then the Coriolis effect. You guys do everything backwards down there, don't you? Ha 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 ha. Also, speaking of Australia, no, it wasn't Australia. Ferdinand's in Oklahoma or Kansas. I may not be cutting fobs like this for very much longer because he gave a sneak peek video on the fan group of the Brother SDX 225. And dude, it was awesome, and it cuts fobs. I don't know if I can justify $600 fob cutter, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so we've cut it out. On all of my fobs, I try to give you little punch lines on where to put your snap tabs to make them all nice and even. There are 2 layers of marine vinyl, and that's kind of thick, so I used Cam Snap long prongs, but occasionally I still have a problem too. It has resolved a lot since I stopped using the owl to punch my holes. I got this little doohickey right here. It's a hole puncher, and I don't know its name, but I got it off Amazon. It was only like 17 bucks, and it is the best thing ever. If you want to find it, I think I've got it linked on the web page. You just like a hole punch, you line up and you punch, you twist a little bit, and now, I don't know if you guys can see. Can you see? I got holes. So when I put my cam button right through there, my prong sticks way up. In addition to having 2 buttons with the spikes up through the middle, you will need 1 male and 1 female cap or end. I call them the innies and the outies. My husband, the engineer and scientist, looks at me sideways and says they're male and female. I'm like, no, they're innies and they're outies. So you line up an innie or an outie, one or the other, and you put your pliers like so. This is not about putting a lot of elbow in it. You want to smush it, but there's a finite amount of smush you can do. Then you come up here, pretty sides out. The outie goes there. You line up, just like so. Squeeze. There we go. We put either a lobster ring or a slip ring, a lobster claw or a slip ring right there. Boom, snapped, tabbed. We be done. Hope you enjoyed this and it was what you were looking for. See you on the webpage.